Hello and welcome to the Welcome Journey. In this really special episode, we get to speak to Asma, who's going to share with us the final leg of, early years, first and secondary school, and then we embark on the next journey, which will be shared by Asma. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. How has there's been so many things happening, has it? Especially with education.
A lot, yes.
I'm gonna just, as you know, we're focusing on the journey of an asylum seeker student who's embarked on their first educational journey. Now they've gone through reception, primary school, secondary school. They leave secondary school, and what does that journey look like after that?
Okay. So you've got two parts to it. You've got young people who'll come through high school, and then you've got young people who come directly at the age of having left high school age as such. So you've got people coming from high school who will go into mainstream education. So as part of our 16 to 18 application process, they will put an application in through the school that they're going to.
Okay.
And then they apply for a course of their choice. And once they've done that, they get an interview. We have a magnificent 16 to 18 recruitment team who will support that young person on their journey, from application to interview to enrolment to post-enrolment. They'll do all of that with them. But you also get young people who'll come with their families who have no English, and that's not just a young person themselves, that's the parents, that's other elder siblings, and they also need support, but their support is looking a bit different. So they will come to us directly and we'll look at maybe English classes. If they've got any English, we can look at other provision that might be suitable. And if they don't have English, we've got a really, really good an ESOL team here that cater for 16 to 18s and for adults, and we'll support them with that journey. So we would look at embedding full-time English classes along with maths, IT, some element of vocational, some life experience, integration, British values, all of that, all the things that they will need to help their journey in the UK become easier, become more manageable, become hopefully a better for them.
Absolutely. I mean, so if we just rewind slightly back to high school, and you mentioned about the application form process. I remember when I was applying for college, the college would personally come into the school, showcase, all the wonderful courses that you have, all the support, and meeting us on a one-to-one basis. Is that still the case?
That still happens. So we have a designated 16 to 18 team. Dave Elliott's the manager of that department, and he has a group of staff that work with him, and they all do school visits. So they'll do things like mock interviews, they'll do interviews themselves, they go out and showcase the provision that we've got. They'll go to the parents' evenings, they'll go to careers evenings that schools host, they'll go in and show them how to put an application in. They'll do so much with that school and with that young person. And then we also have advice events here. So we do the other side of it where they've gone and showcased our provision and what we do and celebrate what we do and present what we do, to saying come into college now and look at it for yourself as to what we do. So we have events throughout the year that we host, that his team host, and that's an opportunity for that young person to go, right, I've heard about it, I've read about it, I've seen a little bit about it, someone's come and spoke to me about it, but now I'm now going to go to college and just see what it's like from the other end, just to give them that idea of hearing them for themselves, of what they want to do, getting a feel for the place. And, we are the first ever College of Sanctuary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Something very, very proud of. And as part of that, one of the things is that feedback that we've had from learners across all ages is that we're a safe place. We're a welcoming place. We're also a very diverse place. So I do feel we have a real we're a very special place in that way, that people from across all generations, all cultures, all religions, all faiths, all nationalities are welcomed here. And so it's really important for that young person, when they have the opportunity to come to an advice event, to come and experience that for themselves and see what it's like, get familiar with the environment, and hopefully kind of go, right, that's exactly what I want to do. I've heard I've now seen it. I've spoke to specialists, spoke to teachers. I've seen the engineering workshops. I've seen the science rooms. I've seen the barbering salons, I've seen the hairdressing salons. They've seen all of that, and they feel like they can imagine themselves being in that environment.
Yeah. And I have no doubt in terms of that. Do you know that transition journey
Yes.
being made easier because the team have made such an effort to connect with students, especially the asylum seeker
Yes.
families and students. I've got two questions.
Go
One of them is, what challenges have the team face in terms of recruiting asylum seeker children? And secondly, what if they've not had the support in school about the application? How do they come to know whether they can qualify for a course if they've just arrived at the age of 16 or 17, whatever age it may be? They've come in and they don't know about the options. So what kind of avenue can they take from there?
So the first question about the problems that we might have as a team, so whether it's applying for a RESOL or whether it's applying for a cross college, I think the answer to that is that the young person always knows someone. In most instances, know somebody. So they might either have a contact within a community group. We've got like different community groups in Preston. They go like, okay, well, at Preston College, go and speak to Asma. And if it's not me that can help them, I know a team that can help them. I think the biggest thing is that when you come new to the UK, I've gone through an upheaval. Mm-hmm. You don't know what that asylum seeker child, adult, young person has left behind, what they've gone through, how they've got here, why they've come here. And there's a lot of trauma attached to that. And with that trauma comes a lot of uncertainty, wariness. So they're coming into an education system that is A, very alien, B, doesn't really correspond with their education system if they have been into a school or a college or university in their country. And then C, you've got a whole value system that's very different to what you've been used to.
That's right.
So adjusting to all of that is huge, and then on top of that, you're trying to enforce structure, routine. You're trying to enforce all these different things for the best for that young person. But sometimes you've got to take baby steps.
Yeah.
And you've got to show them, cannot mold them, that's probably the wrong word actually, but to show them and guide them really, to explain why these things are so important. So the examples I can give you is, and this goes across all age groups again, you go, why do I have to be here for 9:15? Why do I have to be here? Why can I not just go? Why can I not come in late? And to put in structure of a time is massive for some people.
Yes.
But then with that is, but why are they coming late? Is it because they've not used to routine in their country? Because some people will go, well, we never went to a college or school or university. We've not done any of that. So how do I know what this means? And to tell them to do it is really, really hard. So it's understanding what they've come through, what education they've left behind, if any, have they access education? And then with that, kind of explaining, talking it through them as to why these things are important. And it's always good. We buddy people up sometimes. What we'll do is we'll speak to this person. They've gone through what you've gone through. Maybe not your story, maybe not your trauma, but same country, similar kind of background. And look at where they are now. And that person tends to explain to the other person, actual fact, look, I was like you.
Yes.
Look at where I am now. And it is step by step, because if you think, and I think of an adult, the trauma that they've gone through, and a young person too, they can't sleep at night. So how are they going to wake up for 9:15 in the morning? Mm. So it's having that empathy with them. And we as a department, we as a college absolutely do have that. We understand it and we work with that young person. Our young people, in essence, have a student manager. They have, if they looked after young people especially, they have got a student support coordinator. There's a safeguarding team that also works behind the scenes with them. If they're adults, we have a curriculum lead. You have teachers who are very, very empathetic, very, very understanding, will try and sit there and put a plan together. And then we've got a welfare team, we've got student services, all these different pockets of people across the board get together to see how we can help that person. But you have to understand and see it from the other side of you to be able to help that young person or that adult, because if you can't see it and if you don't know it, how can you help them?
Now, at these early stages of even before we started the course or even a few weeks into the course, there's so much being recognised. What has been the result of all this support? How has the student reacted to it?
So we won the Beacon Awards. I can't remember exactly what year, but we won the Beacon Award.
Congratulations
Thank
again.
you. And we know when you do things as a job, and there's things that, you know, we all do, you know, that are above and beyond our job remit, and you do that for the person because you want to help that person engage, integrate, and flourish, because that's what they deserve, and that's what they should be aiming for, and we have the same aspirations for them. And in the Beacon Awards, the officers that were there were talking to a group of, there were some young people, there were some adults, there was a bit of a mixture. And we were sat to one side and we were involved in the conversation, but we were just there. And one of the questions they had was, what do you think of Preston College? And they said, it's home. I cried. Our director, Rachel.
I have goosebumps.
Yes, I've got goosebumps now. Yeah. We both had tears and we both kind of went, because you never think of it like that. You just think you're doing your best for that young person, whether it's a teacher, someone in reception, someone in, you know, the canteen, someone in student services, whoever they are. It's home. And you're like, it's home?
Wow.
This is, so they kind of asked, well, what do you mean it's home?
And that's
said,
the result.
It's safe.
Yeah.
We're safe here. You know, we come here because it's safe, and they know people and they've got their friends. They feel comfortable. And I think all of that we do across the college, within the teams, within the departments, all of that results in that. And to this day, when I'm going to start crying now, I probably won't. But it kind of, you sit there and you go, I've never thought of it like that. Because you go home, you go, you've done your job. Okay, you've gone above and beyond, but you've done your job.
And that is so encouraging to know for our listeners and viewers, especially from the asylum seeker communities, and a student who's watching, to have somewhere with all that support where they feel safe and at home. And I think that's such a powerful statement, because, you know, you're giving them wings to fly in a safe environment.
And that's what we want. That's what we want for people. You know, no matter how old you are, whether you're fresh out of high school, whether you're an adult, you know, whether you feel like you're too old to learn, you know, you're never too old to learn, by the way.
Yeah.
But, you know, you will be welcomed here. And I'm really proud to work for a college that has them values, you know, because we do, you know, you go to reception, you've got smiles on their faces. Today I saw 3 young boys talking to the receptionist, and I went past and I looked, I'm like, that's interesting. And then I walked past again and they were gone, and the receptionist said they come and speak to me every day that they're in, and they talk about the weather. How British.
Yeah, how British.
But they talked about the weather, and they've made it a habit. And that just shows that she's taking her time as a receptionist. You know, she doesn't need to talk to him, but she's talking to him, and that message goes back. So I think it was 1 boy one day, then it was 2, and then it's 3. I'm like, you're going to have a whole group before you know it. But it's things like that. And there are adults, you know, they know they can ask a question without being told, sorry, can't help. You know, wherever you go, you know, if you ask a question, if I don't know the answer, I will find someone who does know the answer. You know, if I can't help, I will find someone who can help. And we don't say no. We'll say, let's see how we can, let me get back to you. You know, let me get back to you, make help. And we, you know, I've sat with adults, you know, because I want the families, like the parents, to understand that their education is just as important as their children, because together, you know, when they have to go to parents' evenings, when they get a phone call from the school or from the doctors or whatever, I want them to feel comfortable knowing that if they've got the language to help them, they are able to engage and not reliant on anybody, including their young children, because sometimes I know parents get a bit embarrassed, or like, I've got to ask my 10-year-old to, you know, to interpret for me. And I think your education is just so important. And just because you've left an education or your qualifications or an amazing job back from your country doesn't mean you can't start back up again. You know, and I've had a maths teacher who's teaching for us now. He was an adult. She was a maths teacher by profession. And, you know, she didn't have the language when she came here. She teaches for us now.
It's in that, I think, what a fantastic success
there are
journey,
opportunities, whether it's with us or whether it's where, and please don't give up. You know, I find it really sad when I get parents coming to their children and going, so what about you? And they're like, no, not me. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah, but why?
Why? And so that's equally important.
That is equally important. I mean, I guess one of the burning questions is, for those who are not familiar with the education system, how does college life or further education differ to secondary school?
Okay, so for example, focusing on one subject. So if, for example, let's say you're doing ESOL, you do ESOL, that's your main aim. So ESOL stands for English for Speakers of Other Languages. And so that's your main focus, is to improve your English to engage in other provision. But let's say you've come straight from high school and you're wanting to go into a construction course. And that's what you're in, because you want to work, you want to go and work on a site in the future. So rather than focusing on other subjects, you just want to focus on that one thing. Or you might want to go into business or IT. So our focus becomes more narrowed, more specific to your career aim and aspirations, with a view of then going to university, with a view of them maybe going into apprenticeships, with a view of them maybe going into employment. You know, there's different pathways once you've completed like the level 3 standard. For adults, it's very similar. You focus on your English and your maths, which is the foundation to whatever you do. They really are. I can't tell you how important it is that you do them 2 subjects to help you open up your opportunities. So then when you are accessing education, other education, other training, jobs, you're in the same position as your peers. And again, with that, college life is different in the sense that we don't have a uniform system. We do have a maintained system of timekeeping, punctuality, attendance, and that's only for your benefit, to help you with your future. When you get into work, you can't just rock up at 10:30 when the job starts at 9 o'clock. So it's trying to put a bit of structure in. We're not Monday to Friday, 9 till 3:30 like schools are. So you do have a little bit of respite time throughout the week. So some people will take on a part-time job. And if you're an adult, you're only committed to 6 hours a week. So there's lots of opportunity to do additional learning elsewhere, maybe pick up a part-time job if you have the rights to work, or do some voluntary work. And I know Lancashire County Council have a fantastic team that are working with doing our voluntary work. And we as a college are looking at doing that too. So there's lots of different opportunities. So you're trying to get more of a fuller, experience of things, not just education, but life experience too.
Yeah, and they're a lot more independent, and that flexibility is there as well. Now to the big question: what is the colleges? You've touched on it, but we're going to be, if you could be more specific, almost like the teacher student expectation, the contract between them two.
Okay.
What do you? Because like you said, a lot of them may not have had any access to education or been in any education setting. When they come to college, what are your expectations? What's not just yours, but the college's expectation of their student?
Okay, so a teacher's expectation. Well, when I see a student, my expectations are that if I'm offering you a class in agreement with what you want, that you attend the classes. That if we give you a time, that you come to that time. With adults, there's a bit more flexibility because we have a range of options, morning, afternoons and evenings, and some Saturday provisions. So we always say to adults, hi, would you like mornings, afternoons or evenings? So you've picked that time. I may mandate the days that you do, but the times that you've picked. So if that's what you want to do, I expect you to come on the days and times. When you get into class, I expect there to be the respect of the classroom environment. So timekeeping is important in the sense that when you come in late, not only are you missing out on your own education, but other people in class get disrupted halfway through. And that's not fair on anybody. And then the other thing is there's respect both ways. We're here to teach you. We want you to come in and learn. That's our biggest aim, is we want you to come in and we're here to teach you. And staff will do everything within their power to help anybody who needs help. So if you speak to a teacher, I'm really struggling to get here, I'm really struggling and whatever, then they'll put things in place, they'll talk to you, see what we can do to help, to make that journey easy for you, We will do all that. So that's what we do as a college, that's our expectations. And I think it's, when learners come in, they always think, some learners don't get not the kind of that contractual stuff that you said, but I think it's undersaid. It's like an agreement. This is the day and time you're coming. This is what you're doing, and it's getting structure, getting into a routine. And a member of staff will contact you and chase you if you're not attending. Where are you? What you're not doing? Whether you're 16, 20, whether you're an adult, we'll still do that. We have to, because we want to make sure that you're okay. And we want you to be okay. So that's probably the biggest thing: is please come in to learn. We're here to teach you. And I think from like an overall perspective is continue to learn outside of the environment. So learning a language, especially, whether it's me or you or a young person or an adult, whoever it is, when you're trying to learn a language, What you do in class is not just it's not the be all and end all. It's what you do outside of class that's important. And we always say, all of us, that practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, so don't think it's a 3-hour-a-day job and you're done. Go home, speak in your own language. The more you practice, the more you will develop, progress, and the more you'll see that. But yeah.
Now, I asked this question. It's a little bit of a game. I asked this question in one of my previous episodes. If you were to ask your student to pack their backpack to come, so you have a backpack which is all their kind of physical things that they need to bring to the classroom, and the other backpack is emotions and your personality. What would you pack in each of these bags?
I'd like them to come with a backpack for starters. Yeah. That'd be the first thing.
Yes.
The amount of young people
the
that
backpack
come,
is a
you're
must.
like, where's your pen?
Yeah.
No, teacher, you give us a pen when you start. No. And that's across, again, all age groups, which was really funny. Sorry, so I digress. So in the backpack, I would like them to have stationery.
Yes. And what's in that stationery? What does that stationery look like?
Pens and pencils. Everything else we'll provide.
Okay.
And I'd like a notebook. Just to write notes in. Even though we do provide resources, I'd like learners to think like, Aisha, I'm going to make my own notes. I can take it home and practice what I've learned.
Lovely.
That's what I'd like.
Lovely.
In the emotions backpack, I would like there to be happiness. Because if you're happy, you're more open to things, you're more open to learning. And that's really hard for anyone, because when you've got so much trauma attached, how do you ask someone to be happy? You can't expect to. I know how I'd be if I had a bad day.
Yeah.
Never mind gone through a journey that some of these people have gone through. And that's something. And I think the other emotion I would have is positivity.
Yeah. Positivity.
Absolutely.
And I think they're lovely ones. So I love the fact that let's have a backpack first.
That's probably my first thing.
Yeah. And I think it's really, pens and pencil. And I love the fact that you bring your own notebook, although we provide it so you can write your own notes. And happiness and positive is really good. Now, just before we end, is there, I always ask all our guests to kind of leave one message for the asylum seeker student or family who are watching, anything you'd like to say to them, and something that makes you feel, just something that's touched you, an incident that's touched you. I know the feedback touched you, but just ending with one of the experiences that has really touched your heart.
So I've got so many. I've worked here for 23 years now, so I've got lots of positive experiences. I think apart from telling you when the students said as a collective that we're a safe place and we're home, which was a massive thing for us, I think I met a family. This is what happens when you go into town or your day off when you meet families. I was with my mum-in-law and my mum, and I met a family, and it was a husband and wife, and they stopped my mum and said, can we just tell you how proud we are as a Sudanese community to have your daughter helping us? And I looked and I was like, I don't know where to look. And I was like, okay, carry on, let's go. Nice to meet you. Shukran, Afwan, bye. Salaam alaikum, did all of that. And my mum came downstairs and she went to me, Asma? I was like, Mum, it's okay. She said, do you know how big that is?
That is really big.
Like they've stopped me to tell me thank you for the work that you do for our community. And I was like, I know, Mum, I don't do anything. She said, well, why would he stop me and tell me that? I think that's probably what it was. Literally going down the stairs and they were coming up and they stopped my mum.
Let's stop your mum and say that. I bet I'm surprised your mum didn't well up when she heard that.
And my mum-in-law's going, oh, this happens all the time when we get stopped, but no one's ever said anything. And I wouldn't expect people to. And I'm like, but Mum, I really don't do anything. I'm just doing my job. And she went, Basma, you've obviously made an impact, because he's just said thank you to me because his wife's speaking English and he's just thanked me for that. I said, but I'm not, but you've helped him get on that journey, Asma. And I'm like, well, if it helps, and that's what I'm here for, is to help people get into education. We're the foundations. What I do to get them into college is the foundations of whatever their future is. And that leads me on to my message to asylum seekers and their families, is please don't give up. you know, we are not just a college of sanctuary, but we are a city of sanctuary, and we welcome you. We want to help you. And there are so many organisations within Preston. I'm so proud to be part of Preston because we have got so many people that can help. So as much as it's been hard, and it will be hard, you'll have good days, you'll have bad days, you know, please don't give up. You know, there are so many opportunities here for you, for your children, for your family members. So keep trying and please reach out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
taking
so
that time.
much
I've been left so inspired. I love all the anecdotes that you shared, and I think you were really specific with, how the students can, especially the asylum seeker families and students can access education, what that journey potentially looks like, what incredible support there is, and how they can get in touch. What we will do is put Asma's details in the video so you can get in touch. And best of luck for your educational journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's nothing we can't do.